Do you want a 48 gigabyte 800 watt graphics card? Well, apparently Nvidia is at least testing that. What is going on here? Well, from our favorite Copite 7 Kimi, we have, and again, why do I report on Copite? Copite has gotten so many leaked, specs for upcoming graphics cards and everything correct in the past that this is a lot better than just some random tweet on the internet. That's why we listen to Copite, and Copite says that we'll be getting an AD102. So this would be the high-end Alder Lake. Now, he's not putting a name on this. He's not calling it the 4090 Ti, or maybe it could be a Titan, something like that. But we're talking the absolute top end, above the normal 4090. And the crazy thing here is 48 gigabytes, 24 gigabit per second GDDR6X, total board power, 800 watts. Now let's dig into this a little bit. What does this mean in context? First of all, 800 watts is absolutely insane, but also notice that TBP, total board power, is not the same thing as TDP. In other words, if my understanding is correct, total board power is how much this is capable of being requested to draw, not how much it will just normally be drawing. But the fact that it's up at 800 watts is absolutely insane. I think that would probably mean that you'd be wanting 2 of those new 16-pin PCIe Gen 5 power connectors on this thing, and 48 gigabytes. So 48 gigabytes of memory to me seems just so utterly stupid from a gaming context that I have to assume that if this is indeed real, and I would assume that, honestly, maybe I'm giving Copite too much credit here, but if Copite's tweeting this, I think this is probably at least being internally tested by Nvidia, but that doesn't mean that it'll actually launch, right, in this configuration. But my assumption would be if something was going to be a 48 gigabyte card here, that this has to be for some kind of professional application as its main target, not that it wouldn't be a gaming beast. But that's what I'd have to go with here, in my opinion. Now, if we look over at videocards.com reporting on this, they have some of these specs placed up against, they keep track of all of the latest rumored specs and everything. So if you want to see this card that we're seeing rumored here up against the rumors for the RTX 4090, which is the card that we're expecting to actually see this year, possibly as soon as October. Basically, this is the full AD102 chip, whereas the RTX 4090 would be a little bit cut down. It would be 126 SMs versus 142, which gets you, in other words, the chip we're expected to actually see this year should be 16,384 CUDA cores versus the 18,176 rumored possible CUDA cores on this 800 watt, 48 gigabyte absolute monster. Now, this thing, I don't want an 800 watt power supply. I don't want a power supply capable of powering an 800 watt GPU. That's absolutely insane. Now, I will also mention that the 4080 and 4070, while rumored release dates had said that we'd get one in November and one in December, we're starting to see a lot of the rumor and leak Twitter accounts and all of that starting to suggest that we might be seeing these delayed into 2023. Now, I don't know if that's going to for sure happen, but the sound is that there's a lot of pressure on Nvidia, especially from board partners and such, to actually be able to sell through their 3000 series cards before too many of these 4000 cards get out there. Now, let me see if I can find the article that I'm looking for here. This one is from, this is from WCCF Tech. Now, they've got some rumors. Now, these ones are coming from the Chip Hell forums, I believe, as the original source here. So this is one that I'm going to say I'm less confident on than stuff we get from Copite. Where's the tweet here? Anyway, so according to this one, again, I'm going to put less confidence on this one. We're seeing that Nvidia is with this 4090 that we're seeing as the one that we'll probably actually at least get in 2023, possibly as soon as October. By the way, Copites was asked recently about the 4090 release date and just says, we will see her soon, nothing to say. Now, regarding pricing and such and models, that's what I wanted to get at here. So the Chip Hell Forum rumor seems to be pointing towards there being both a 450 watt and a 600 watt version of this 4090 card. It could be that the Founders Edition reference design is a 450 watt design, but that AIB partners might be pushing this towards 600 watts. And apparently they're claiming that this would be even printed on the box or something like that. I don't know. This sounds weird to me. It's been a long time since I think we've seen that drastic of a difference to where it would actually be printed on the box for that kind of thing. But maybe NVIDIA's thinking, we should have a version of this that people might be able to run on a power supply that they actually already own versus pushing into the 600 watt range. I don't know, and it'd be interesting to see what kind of performance difference there would be between these two versions, because I have to assume that if you'd be pushing into the 600 watt range, but there is a 450 watt model being released, that you're probably beyond the, beyond the really worthwhile part of the efficiency curve. So pushing up to that many more watts is not going to get you that much percent more performance, right? You're probably in a terrible end of the efficiency curve. Now, along with these rumors, apparently we're also seeing rumors of the pricing. Where did they put it in here? But basically they said that the pricing, here we go. So from this same Chip Hell Forum post, so again, I don't have any sort of confidence in this being a for sure deal, but they're saying that it will have a lower MSRP than the 3090 Ti, which was a $2,000 MSRP. But that means that this could be more expensive than the 3090, which had a $1,500 MSRP. So that could, again, be putting it somewhere in this between the $1,500 to $2,000 range when this thing comes out. Now, unfortunately, I think that might actually make sense, again, if we're going to go with the thought process that NVIDIA is wanting to delay their 4000 launch other than this 4090, because if they basically launch this thing at a price where it's not competing too much with the 3000 series. So we get this huge performance boost, but it comes out way more expensive than anything in the 3000 series is currently selling for at its when it launches. Then it can kind of just slot in as a tier above without putting a lot of downward pressure on the 3000 series, which I hate to see, but that would kind of make sense as a move that NVIDIA might do. And I don't know if maybe the only thing that we could get from here, I mean, in terms of needing to get their cards out sooner or for better prices, would be what are we going to see from AMD and when are they actually launching? But the rumor mill has been a lot quieter on the AMD 7000 series. So I hope that doesn't mean that it's going to be kind of late getting out there. We'll see what happens, guys. I don't know. Now, in terms of things that we actually do know, let's pass over the rumors and leaks and get to some hard evidence. So apparently Sapphire Technology has tweeted that they're going to be launching a Radeon RX 6500 XT with 8 gigabytes of memory instead of the 4 gigabytes of memory that the 6500 XT models have always had in the past. Now, the tweet says on shelf now, but I could not find this for sale anywhere. I was extremely curious what the pricing on this would be, because if it honestly costs the same, which might be too much to ask for, then it might be at least a little bit interesting for someone. I don't know. But if this actually costs more than the 6500 XT 4 gigabyte version, I don't know, guys. That card's already pretty weak. It's missing the encoder, all of that, things that people might want. Although I will say that some of the performance issues you run into on the 6500 XT, especially on the PCIe Gen 3 motherboards being the worst case scenario with its limited PCIe lanes, that these cards have, that performance loss is worst when you run over the VRAM limit of the 4 gigabytes, and so it's having to access system memory through that limited PCIe bus. So going up to 8 gigabytes here on this card is certainly a good thing for that card, but again, the price is absolutely everything. Again, this thing is listed on the Sapphire website, but again, I can't find it actually for sale anywhere with a price on it, so we'll see what happens with that. Now, this is really interesting. So this one, I'll call it more than just a leak or a rumor, because what happened was AMD accidentally published and then took down, or maybe wanted attention and accidentally published. I don't know. It seems like an accident. They took this down quickly. A video announcing an AI-based noise suppression technology, which is basically an RTX Voice competitor. So the video came out, it got published. It basically described this as operating basically the same way that RTX Voice operates. It's a little hard to see here, but basically there's, you have control over your sources, and this looks like it will be placed in the Radeon software along with everything else. Where you can, control your inputs and outputs, which ones get the noise suppression. This looks like it'll operate very similar to RTX Voice, basically, within the AMD software. This is really interesting. Now, the video that got published and taken down said, available now, or basically. But that means it's obviously not available now, and that's partially why they took down the video. So I'm wondering if this is maybe going to be timed along with their launch for their next-gen GPUs. That's just me wondering. But overall, my thoughts on this is I'm really excited to see that it seems like AMD is completely aware that Nvidia has many features that AMD doesn't, right? That give people a reason to buy the Nvidia GPU over the AMD GPU. And it looks like AMD is not ignoring that, and they're trying to attack those features head on. So we still need to see how good this is, right? And when it actually launches. But it's very exciting to see that AMD is taking things like RTX Voice seriously and developing their own competitor for it. Now, let's jump over to some other GPU news. We now have confirmation that the Arc A770 flagship GPU from Intel will be a 16 gigabyte card, whereas the A750, which is the one step down from that flagship, will be an 8 gigabyte GPU, and that the sampling should start soon. So I'm seeing this reported from video cards, but it looks like Intel has finally, basically, remember a long time ago, Intel ran a scavenger hunt where people could win a Intel GPU. Well, it looks like those prizes are finally about ready to ship, and it's in this announcement where we're seeing the final confirmation here directly from Intel that A770 is 16 gigabyte and the A750 is 8 gigabyte. So this is official from an Intel source. And hey, if you're waiting on one of those prizes, it looks like you might finally actually maybe be seeing one soon. Now, along with this, Intel are also mentioning that they are getting the samples of their GPUs in their offices, right? So the A750 graphics card arriving in Intel offices with packaging ready for final testing before sampling with press. So basically, they've got the cards, they've got their samples, they're testing them out, and they'll be sending out to press for reviews. So it looks like we are finally actually right on the cusp of these A7 GPUs getting out there in the wild. Pricing rumors have these at less than $400 US, since they'll be competing with Nvidia GPUs in that space and are rumored to be priced aggressively based on everything that that we've seen from this Intel marketing campaign. So these should be coming soon-ish, hopefully. Finally, maybe Intel took their sweet time, but hey, better late than never, I guess. Now, pricing's everything. Now, on that note, it looks like ASRock has an Arc A380 graphics card design reveal, which means that ASRock is no longer going to be exclusively making AMD GPUs. So far, they've been an AMD board partner. It looks like they're also going to be coming onto the Arc team. And that's interesting. I'm curious which other major board manufacturers will jump into the Arc GPU space. So there's an Intel Arc A380 from ASRock. Now, another question mark that people had on these, and I can't wait till we get even more testing, is how will the Arc GPUs run on AMD Ryzen PCs? Because it was listed in the official system requirements from Intel that they require an Intel 10th, 11th, or 12th gen CPU with resizable bar support. And then they mentioned that additional platforms or motherboards with resizable bar or smart access memory enabled may also support Arc series graphics cards. Now that's pretty, a weak statement from Intel there. They may support it. So it looks like we do have computer base actually testing out some AMD platforms on these Arc GPUs. And it looks like as long as you have resizable bar enabled, the performance is just fine if you consider Intel Arc performance just fine. Anyway, but it looks like it does support the platform. As long as you have resizable bar enabled. And that seems to be the big takeaway on all of these so far is, we're worried about the drivers. It looks like older graphics APIs could be weak, and you really want a resizable bar supported platform to get anything like reasonable performance out of these. Now, in more Intel news, but jumping over to their CPUs, it's looking like we have this is again back to being a leak, not official confirmation. But this is from Enthusiastic Citizen, who has been publishing a lot of reviews of engineering samples and qualification samples of Intel hardware. So this is certainly somebody with some kind of pretty good source to early Intel information and hardware. So according to this, it looks like we have some actual dates for when this Intel 13th gen CPUs will be available. And it's looking like we're seeing that the Intel Z790 and the Raptor Lake K series, so this is the high-end overclockable chips. It looks like they'll have a earlier release date than the non-K versions. These will be released at the Intel Innovation 22 event. And the performance ban, I'm assuming what we mean here, I think this is translated from Chinese. I think what that means is the review embargo on performance will be on September 28th. Hey, that's my sister's birthday. Anyway, and the official release time will be the week of October 17th. Now, if you're waiting for the non-K versions and the cheaper motherboards, the H670 and H760 and B760 non-K, it looks like that will be lifted at CES 2023 on January 5th. And the official release time will be second half of January. And it's looking like there won't be any H710 or H610 PCH, it says will be continued to be used. Oh, sorry, the H610 would be used. There won't be a new H710. Okay, because again, the 6 series motherboards will be compatible with these chips. The other information here that seems interesting is, again, we've seen more rumors of this, and it seems pretty much certain now that these Raptor Lake chips will be compatible with DDR4 and DDR5, so we will see support for both, which is good to see since DDR4 is still cheaper, although performance, we'll take a look, we'll talk more about DDR5 performance in a second here. More of the specs that we're already pretty well aware of. And again, confirming that the DDR5 official support is up to 5600 versus 4800 from the other versions. So if you'd like to see these specs up against their 12th gen versions, the big difference here is mostly getting more of the efficiency cores. That's the big difference on most of these chips, along with some clock speed increases. Now, the overall architecture does not seem to be much different, and that means that we're not going to see huge performance gains other than what we're getting from these clock speed increases and the extra efficiency cores. So we'll expect the multi-threaded performance to go up quite a bit due to the extra efficiency cores, but single core performance is mostly just going to be from the clock speeds, not from any real any real IPC gains, because we're seeing that it's pretty much the same architecture as Alder Lake. We're not going to see a whole lot from this. Basically, we aren't seeing any IPC gains since the underlying architecture is the same. What has changed are the clock speeds, cache size, and core configurations. Now, the cache size especially can have an impact on gaming performance, so we have yet to see exactly what we'll get. The best we have so far when it comes to leaks on performance, we've seen some of the engineering samples reviewed by that enthusiastic citizen source. We're also seeing some Geekbench results leaked. And we're seeing some of the chips now tested both with DDR5 and DDR4, and Geekbench seems to like DDR5. Whereas, these aren't official reviews, so I don't want to dive too much into this performance here, but you can see some Geekbench results here. And again, the multi-cores are getting the bigger boosts compared to the 12th gen, again, as expected, due to those increased efficiency cores. Now, let's get to some quicker little stories here at the end. I'm really interested in some of these handheld Steam Deck competitor type PCs. And one of the ones I'm really interested in is this AYANEO 2, because it's coming with the Ryzen 7 6800U APU, which should have very strong for this class of device graphics performance. And it's looking like we're going to see the official launch for this in September. And AYANEO is also talking about some of their other products that are releasing upcoming here as well. But I'm very interested in this device. We shall see how it reviews. Now, in other GPU news, InnoSilicon, which is a Chinese domestic GPU manufacturer, says that their Fantasy number 2 is coming August 3rd, but I don't think many people watching my channel are going to be particularly interested in this, so feel free to dive into some of that if you'd like. Anyway, some domestic Chinese GPU progress being made. Now, AMD looks like they are going to be expanding their research and development to New York with a whole new CPU design center. So it looks like AMD is taking some of their, recent success and doubling down into more R&D. It looks like they're posting tons of CPU side hiring for New York positions here. So yeah, it looks like a lot of investment here happening in the R&D space for AMD, which is great to see, to hopefully see competition continuing to thrive in the CPU space. Now, also ASRock, in addition to how I reported them getting into Arc GPUs, it looks like they're also trying to enter the gaming monitor market. So interesting if we want another player here in the gaming monitor space. And in a little bit of game news, it looks like The Last of Us Part 1 for PC will be launching very soon after the PS5 version launches, although we don't have a specific release date or information on what very soon actually means. This is directly from a Naughty Dog dev, though. So we should be expecting The Last of Us Part 1 on PS5 in early September. So it's early September for PS5, very soon after that for PC. The direct quote here is, "Glad to hear you're hyped, man. PC version should come out a bit later, but very soon after the PS5 release." I'm hoping at least that means this year at some point. I don't know what exactly to make of very soon. And the last thing I'll mention, because I really like this game and so do my daughters, Stray has become the best user-rated game of 2022 on Steam. And if you're interested in the performance of Stray, you could check out the video I published yesterday where I tested it out on my GTX 1060, went through all the graphics settings and looked at their performance impacts and all of that. Not a lot of views on that video, so I guess not everybody's as excited about the cat as I am. But anyway, I hope all of you have an excellent day.